One small compounding action could completely change your future. Now, I think when we hear about compounding, we get obsessed about how much money is going to be worth in the future, but then what's it going to be worth due to inflation and the impact of inflation compounding as well, and we get lost down that. But there are a lot of non-financial ways that you can compound your actions that will end up creating financial compounding beyond what you could even believe possible. And I want to take you through a quick example. Now, if all we do is look at it of turning a bit of money into a shitload more money down the future, we often think, well, we don't have enough money to make that impactful, so then we don't go on our own journey to do that. But I want to show you how this is really important and how every single one of us can take control of compounding and get it working in the right direction. Because I'll tell you a story of how it doesn't work in the right direction, and that's where somebody innocently signs up to a credit provider and decides to allocate their future income to that credit provider so that they can have things that they maybe once couldn't afford. It might be a nice pair of shoes that they don't really need, but now they can because the debt dealer has said, well, actually, we believe that you'll pay it back, therefore you can have access to this credit and you can then go and buy those fancy shoes. So then what you do is you sign yourself up to 6 weeks of repaying for those shoes, and in those 6 weeks you probably see more marketing, you start to pay it down, you still know that you've got the credit, and you start looking for the next thing to buy. You start to build up a great track record of being a great customer to the debt dealers, and eventually one of them also says, hey, you could be using us too. Then you look into some promotional activity that suggests there's maybe a better debt dealer as well. You end up signing up for that one too. Before you know it, you're paying multiple debt dealers and everything's amazing because you're getting all this cool stuff and your dopamine levels are through the roof, but eventually something breaks in your budget and you go, whoa, how am I going to pay all of this back? So the danger is that we've used compounding but in the wrong direction, and you can see how this gets out of hand for a lot of people all of the time. Now, what if we look at using compounding to our advantage? Well, let's say that we analyze our subscriptions in our life. And we see, actually, we didn't realize, but we have Netflix, we have Hulu, Zulu, whatever it's called, and Amazon Prime, and bloody neon signs and all sorts, right? And we realize, wow, that's actually compounding in the wrong direction. You're going into debt because you're using your time that you can never get back. And that's stopping you from being able to do the things that potentially you should do. So you have a moment in your life where you see you don't actually need these 3 providers of these subscriptions. Maybe you don't need any of them. Now the beauty is you think, okay, if I cancel this, I'm going to have this money back. Well, it's not just the money that you have back as well. But let's just focus on the money to start with. If we've freed up cash in our budget, what can we do with it? Well, we could probably clear down some of our debt. That gets us out of debt faster. If we get out of debt faster, what can we then do with the excess cash flow that we free up in our budget? Because most of us live paycheck to paycheck in some form or some way, either by paying for all the costs we have or even spending our excess paying back the debt dealers for things that we've been given before we can actually afford them. As much as they tell us, oh, it's a form of payment, no, we're buying things with money we don't yet have and telling our future self, hey, can you please pay that back? We're very good at that in this country, and countries love living on debt bubbles. Story for another day. Anyway, now we've freed up the cash flow in our budget and we can direct it to something that we care about. But let's come back to that. Let's look at time for a second on the non-financial side. Then with all this time that we now have, because we aren't using it to watch the subscriptions, we can decide, what do I do with that? And then we compound that time into learning something that might earn us more money. All of a sudden, we might be focused on something that's going to help us become more healthy. Something that's going to teach us something that's going to become valuable to us in the future. We couldn't compound that way when we were spending our time watching shit on these subscriptions. So not only do we have a financial and a non-financial benefit, we effectively get 2 forms of compounding working in the correct direction. So we get back in control of compounding. Now, a lot of people would say, well, I don't sign up to any subscriptions. Well done to you. Then why don't you go and check out your screen time? Oh, okay, yeah, I do spend a lot of time on Twitter. Oh, I do spend a lot of time on talking and ticking, on scrolling and trolling and rolling in the deep. What the hell? What for? What are you getting from it? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm watching AI-generated cats and dogs and gorillas and stuff now. You've compounded your time in the wrong direction. How's that going to help you? So even if you're not spending money on subscriptions financially, you can get that time back. Where do you redeploy that time to? So let's just take somebody who decides that they're going to stop paying for the subscriptions. They now can redeploy some of their time to something that's going to be more valuable for them in the future, like learning a side hustle, like understanding there's $200 billion sloshing around in transaction savings and term deposit accounts, and a lot of the baby boomers have a lot of wealth, and we might be able to go to them and do something to help them, and then they might pay us. We'll come back to that. That's a sort of compounding education that we might learn that's going to add to our back pocket. And then we also then clear our debt faster. We free up that cash flow. So let's step this out. We're learning, we end up earning, but also in the meantime, we're clearing some debt and we're actually then freeing up the cash flow, and we start to deploy that into some investing. Oh, investing is exciting. I'm learning about that over here with the time that I had back, because I'm not now watching the stupid social media or stupid Zulu Hulu accounts that I have. Wow, I learned about this S&P 500 thing, and you could get a 10% return. Oh, my uncle once said you can't get 10% returns. Well, you're guaranteed 10% returns negatively in New Zealand because of the levels of compounding we have. So if you don't think you can get bloody 10% returns, go and have a look at an inflation calculator on the Reserve Bank website that will teach you that we definitely have negative 10% returns because your money is losing value. It's down plenty, and that's a negative return. So 10% returns definitely exist. But anyway, you start learning more, you start investing, but also then you start realizing, well, actually, I've got a mortgage that I could be attacking too. So what we do is we say, well, I used to be paying Hulu Zulu. Now I don't need to. I'm going to clear my mortgage a little bit faster. Oh, okay, I can an extra $50 a fortnight that I'm going to clear my mortgage faster. Far out. I did that on the bank mortgage calculator and realized I'm going to clear my mortgage 7 years faster. Are you serious? I thought a 30-year mortgage meant that I had to pay it for 30 years. No, that's how long they want you to pay it for. So now instead of paying Hulu, all of a sudden we are clearing our mortgage even faster and saving years to pay that mortgage. Now what this means is that we clear it faster and then we free up our cash flow again. Oh, where did that... That sounds familiar. Yeah, remember when we stopped paying the debt dealers for the buy now, pay later and things like that, and then the subscriptions as well? We're freeing up our cash flow, and then we deploy it to clearing a mortgage faster. We save ourselves 7 years. Oh, then what I did is I ran a calculation. What if I kept my mortgage repayment that I'd normally send to the bank and I started investing it for those 7 years? Wow, by the end of that 7 years, it becomes XYZ. That's a pretty cool sum of money. And then 10 years after that, it's doubled again. Holy. So can you see how a small action up front can turn into something massive longer term? The problem is for a lot of us, we can't see beyond 12 months. We can't see 5 years. We can't see 10 years. We can't see 37 years, etc. So we don't do this. But this is what a lot of smart people understand about compounding, is that the actions you take today can have massive payoffs in the future. It can be hard for us to see it at the time. But let's layer over the top the person who stops consuming all of the content and they go out and start learning how to make some more money, and then they go out and start earning money as well. They then get to take all of that cash to pay more taxes to help other people who don't pay as much tax. So great, well done to them, but they also get to keep their net amount after tax, and they can deploy it into other investments so they can protect their family, look after their community, sponsor their rugby club, look after their loved ones, provide for the pet if it does have an emergency, and then they don't have to go into debt. All of a sudden, they're compounding their life in a completely different direction, and it's helping more people at the same time that they do that. So be very mindful about the subscriptions you sign up for, the things that you tell yourself, the lack of action that you are taking, the things that you leave lying around your house that you don't really need, because that's another great example of compounding. You might go, oh, there's no point selling one pair of shoes. What's that going to do for me? Well, incorrect. You might make $200, and it might mean that there's $10, $20 payments that you don't need to make back. You might then clear down that form of debt, and eventually you get yourself out of debt, and then you stop using that. You compound into somebody who doesn't use that debt. You go on the learning journey. You then become the earner as well, and the whole thing just continues to snowball. You have better food in your life, better nutrition, better understanding, better education, better values, better beliefs, better clarity, and you keep moving in the right direction. This is what a lot of people that are doing really well have figured out a long time before you. And it's no shade on you for not figuring it out yet. It's just that we live in a world that's so tempting to stay away from compounding, and we compound our actions in the wrong directions. All of us have done shit in our life where we look back and we think, I shouldn't have done that. But normally it starts by small actions heading us in the wrong direction to start with. So have a think about what small action you could take in your life that would dramatically improve it if you stick to it longer term. Don't just look at it as one action. Okay, I sold the shoes and the equipment around the house that I don't need. Done. What do I do now? Where does it take you? Clearing down the debt, learning more, getting out there and learning how to sell even more things. It might open your mind to what you can sell on a marketplace or on Tradebee, that sort of thing. You don't know what the journey will take you to, but I tell you what, if you don't take the action, you can just about see where your future will take you.